Hi there! In this video, we will discuss how misunderstanding people with dementia can lead to negative attitudes, sometimes referred to as stigma. This video is part of a series on how to identify and reduce risk factors for dementia. Dementia is a general term for loss of memory, language, problem-solving, and other thinking abilities that are severe enough to interfere with daily life. Alzheimer's disease and vascular dementia are two of the most common types of dementia. When you hear the term dementia, what are some things that come to mind? You might think memory loss, confusion, or just a thing that happens to most people when they get older. In this video, we are going to give you a better understanding about dementia and those who live with it. Poor attitudes towards people with dementia arise from misunderstanding what dementia is and the situation of people with dementia. Stigma or negative views about people living with dementia can lead to discrimination. Experiencing stigma may have harmful consequences on people with dementia who may experience shame and lower self-esteem. Due to the harmful effects of stigma, people with dementia may be excluded from social situations, resulting in social isolation and depression. People with dementia can recognize the negative attitudes that people display towards them, and they may start to believe the negative messages they receive from others about the condition. This results in lower self-esteem, which negatively impacts well-being. The stigma around dementia can also prevent people from seeking help from their doctor because they feel ashamed about the symptoms they are having, or they fear being discriminated against if they are diagnosed with dementia. How can we address negative attitudes towards dementia? Let's start by reviewing what dementia really is. Dementia happens when there is damage to the brain that either destroys brain cells or makes it hard for them to communicate with each other. Depending on the kind of damage that occurs and where it is located in the brain, there are some different types of dementia. Some of them can be triggered by medical conditions, such as stroke, Parkinson's disease, or Huntington's disease. Another type, called Alzheimer's disease, is the most common type of dementia and involves progressive damage to different parts of the brain, typically starting with the system that stores recent memories and then proceeding to the system that controls reasoning, planning, and decision-making. Dementia often involves experiencing difficulties with short-term memory. As a result, people may have trouble remembering what they had for breakfast or what they did earlier in the day. Even though people with dementia typically have problems with recent memory, their long-term memory often functions well. This means that a person with dementia can generally accurately recall what their favorite hobbies are, or talk about their previous job, and details about their family growing up. So now that we know more about dementia, how common is it? Approximately 50 million people have dementia worldwide. Those people are generally older adults, and if a person younger than 65 has dementia, it is considered to be young onset dementia. But dementia is something we will all get, right? The answer is no. Dementia is not a normal part of aging, which means that the majority of older adults will not develop dementia. However, the risk of getting dementia increases as people get older. The good news is that there are always ways to reduce the risk of getting dementia, and it is never too late to start. You can reduce your risk of getting dementia by doing intellectually challenging activities like reading, or playing board games, exercising, being social with others, keeping a healthy weight, not smoking, and not drinking heavily. People cannot be blamed for getting dementia. Although some risks for dementia are known and can be reduced, many people develop dementia despite not having any of these risk factors. And some people have genes from birth that make it more likely that they will get dementia. Now that you have learned the facts about dementia, what are other ways that stigma about dementia can be reduced? One way is to change the way we interact with people who have dementia. We can learn how to talk and connect to people with dementia more effectively. Here are some things you can do to improve how you interact with people living with dementia. Start by being aware that everyone with dementia is unique. Treat those with dementia with respect and dignity when you interact with them. You also need to see the person, not the condition. People who are now living with dementia used to have intact cognitive capabilities and still carry all their memories of those times with them. They continue to be so much more than the limitations that now challenge them. People with dementia can live happy lives and can be involved in interests and have fulfilling relationships. They have strong emotions, both positive and negative, and they continue to enjoy music, social interaction, and a variety of activities. Whether or not people have dementia, people are individuals. We spend our whole life learning how to deal with different people based on who they actually are, and it is no different for people with dementia. They continue to be individuals with different preferences and capabilities, and they need people to interact with them based on who they actually are, and not on the basis of some stereotype about what a person with dementia is like. Every person has their own preferences on how you interact with them. However, you should be careful in how you talk to someone who has dementia. Avoid making jokes about dementia or associated limitations in memory and thinking. Be mindful of how you refer to people with dementia and avoid addressing them as sufferer or victim, as these words are stereotyping the person and displaying negative attitudes. Earlier, we discussed how people with dementia may face difficulty with remembering things that recently happened, known as short-term memory. Because of this, it is best to avoid asking a person with dementia, "Do you remember?" as this question can cause that person to feel frustrated and embarrassed due to being confronted with their memory challenges. You can also promote positive interactions by focusing on people and not their dementia. You can create a positive impact by being more accepting and flexible with the person's difficulties, feelings, and experiences, and by engaging the person in conversations and activities. In conversations, if a person with dementia tells you something that is incorrect, try to understand their perspective and accept the way they see things from their viewpoint. For example, they might tell you they have to get to work, even though they have retired. Instead of correcting them, show interest by asking about their job. Be open to learning about the person, such as what they enjoy doing and what their strengths are, rather than focusing on what they can't do. Learning about the person with dementia can teach you how to best interact with them and can give you ideas about topics you can talk about with them. For example, learn about what songs they like, a funny memory that makes them happy, or if they had a favorite pet. By seeing the whole person and respectfully interacting with them as they are, you can positively affect the lives of those living with dementia